Hello again. Like Bill Williamson, I am back. The Void is a strange, dark, and disturbingly invigorating place, and I couldn't be more ambivalent in bringing you the final chapter in the Rampage trilogy. We've come so far and done so much in our short time together. But enough pleasantries. We've survived where most would have fallen, but not you. Not me, for we all instinctively understand that all good things come to an end, and the undefeated, unseen, invisible force of death will one day greet us all when we draw our last breath. But before I leave you, let's see where Bill is, shall we? I'm sure you've been curious about what he's been up to and his whereabouts. Unlike our last offering from the Void, I will not be giving you a beat-by-beat, play-by-play of the events that follow. If I do that, you will only have a one-sided analysis, and that is useless. What I want you to do is watch the material beforehand, because some things must be experienced in order to understand them. For what good is critical thinking if you do not use it? What I'll do instead is discuss the themes and developments I deem worthy in my latest evisceration and exploration into Bill Williamson and the Rampage trilogy. It only took 3 shots for Bill to do the impossible, like the hand of a vengeful god casting his fury upon his subjects, screaming in blood-curdling agony. The President, Vice President, and Secretary of State have been assassinated. He has transformed the entire country into a proverbial fetal position as a nation laments in torment. The FBI scrambling to discover who was responsible for the hell that has been brought upon them. Like a demon spat out from the dark bowels of shadow and fire, we see Bill in the mountains. His hair is grown out, beard long and unkempt from his time spent isolated in hiding, as the money he stole from the bank robbery in Tenderville has nearly ran out. We see him shooting at targets at extremely long distances, planting landmines and booby-trapping his surrounding area before he receives a message from his girlfriend, Crystal. In this correspondence, she asks to visit him. He denies this request, stating it's too dangerous for them. Crystal replies saying she isn't the only one who wants to see him. Bill, with tears welling in his eyes, receives an image of his newborn son. Bill is a father, and he is forever changed, as I imagine all parents are when they bring a new life into the world. Unfortunately, the world these naive but nonetheless loving parents are bringing these innocent children into is a world that no longer exists as the parents want it to be. A world filled with despair, increased poverty, and a rapidly diminishing middle class where the rich grow richer, stolen from the millions of torn souls left broken, poor, and forced into a life of servitude and left hopeless to die. Where a special class of nihilistic elites rule with an iron fist, using their stolen fortunes to continually exist in perpetual luxury, while the rest are left to settle for less, where dreams of better days and brighter futures suffocated like a dying flame through imperialist propaganda, leaving brainwashed masses all too happy in following, too stupid to see the truth.
It's a downward spiral. There's no chance that we can survive.
It's never explained how Crystal met Bill. It's clear she deeply loves him, even as the time in Bill's life is dwindling. His mission of changing the world drawing near, leading to his eventual death, after her pleas fall short of convincing him to continue running and hiding with her and their son Billy. Bill telling her she eventually has to move on with her life. The love she feels for him is overwhelming, and she refuses to leave him. And it's honestly heartbreaking. Some say that love is an acceptable form of mental illness, a chemical imbalance, or biological programming that exists in the confines of our DNA, running unfettered, taking dominance over the more critical portions of our brains. Whatever love is, it's powerful and completely all-consuming. And it's true when people say they would rather have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's a disturbing reality when we see those haunted by the fragmented moments of time where they were happy, wrapped into love's warm embrace, for it only to fall to pieces like a glass shattering on the kitchen floor, sending those into a downward spiral which some, unfortunately, never recover from. But to have those memories in the first place, those touched by love's kiss, are worth having, versus never knowing the feeling and sheer unexplainable joy of having someone to share and walk through the complicated and twisting paths that life itself bears down upon us all. Bill and Crystal's time together, while filled with moments of happiness, it was only a sliver of time. Time that was short and wrought with the bittersweet shadow in the form of death following them all if Crystal stayed with Bill. And while the life they brought into this world became a symbol of the love they shared together, it makes it all the more painful to see them depart for the last time. When I watched this for the first time, for a moment, I forgot I was supposed to be taking notes. I even forgot about Bill being this modern-day revolutionary and the crimes he committed in achieving his goals. It was truly heart-wrenching, seeing Crystal and Billy part ways. It was as if I was watching something I shouldn't be seeing. Like a voyeur, gazing at a private moment held between two people who, despite their unconditional love for each other, knew their time had expired. The love that all good parents feel towards their children is something that cannot be measured by traditional methods of mathematics or science. All parents hope for their children to have the things they didn't have in life and dream for them to have a better life than they did. They tell them that they are special, that the world is fair, how they can ascend to the highest heights in society if they work hard, stay positive, believe in God, and be a good, nice person. That things will work out, that things will be better, that they can rule the world.
My little boy, he's growing up.
But it's all a lie. The world is not fair. Not all children are as special or gifted in the way their parents dream and hope for. The reality is, if their child, if not rich, or one of the uniquely gifted few, will be poor and fall into a middle class that is hastily diminishing, and they will celebrate that their child has gotten a job, that they have a family to look after, and be proud they found their way through life, despite the reality of their children growing to suffer the same fate as their parents have. All parents lie to their children, but they don't lie out of negligence or paternal inability. They lie because they have the same hopes and dreams they once had for themselves. Sadly, hopes and dreams don't pay for gas or groceries. Being a nice person doesn't provide them with anything other than an agreeable, weak, meager personality ripe for abusers to run rampant, destroying their lives. It's a gut-wrenching cycle, where when those kids become adults and the fantasy peels away like the wallpaper in Silent Hill 2, the dream slowly turns into a nightmare. Their bodies break down. They have children of their own, and they have to support them. So like their parents, they work a job they hate for a boss they despise and repeat the same lies their parents told them until they die. It's a sad cycle indeed, but nonetheless, an unavoidable one. Ascending to the heights of enlightenment is no easy task, and not for the faint of heart. It takes a certain constitution, self-belief, and willingness to endure almost unbearable suffering in order to claim stake at the top. When looking down from the precipice atop the mountain of knowledge, what happens when the man willing to defy the gods and unleash himself upon his fellow man? What happens when the message itself falls upon those unwilling to listen? When they cover their ears, closing their minds to the important information, sitting there, waiting to be digested from anyone who is willing to seek it, remaining willfully blind and deaf to the damning truth staring and roaring at them from the mountaintop. When critical thinking and common sense is considered offensive, when religion, a derelict method of ignorance, peasant-like thinking from the dark ages of superstition and fear, rule over the fundamental tangible reality of science. The very same science which powers the technology they distract themselves with. Growing more agreeable, mindlessly following their oppressors, ignoring the voice beckoning them to wake up and regain their sense of self, to join him on the peak of enlightenment. It's a cold, lonely place at the top of the mountain, and the videos Bill sends his followers from his hidden location grow more distressed and anguished. After the events of capital punishment, the world has not changed as Bill had once thought it would after his message was broadcasted from the WK7 news station. The world was seemingly blind and was far more interested in his body count rather than what he was saying and urging people to understand. And in this current world of true crime podcasts, where egotistical, narcissistic, and manipulative content creators using the deaths and tragedies of other people as the latest subject for entertainment, is not surprising that these mindless, slack-jawed, vaping drones would hardly be interested in something that requires far more effort than a single swipe of the thumb. Or are they? From the bowels of the abyss lie awake a breed of humanity unlike the rest of its brethren, a caste of beings willing and ready to be led onto that infamous mountaintop, and are waiting for their signal to rise and reclaim their land, stolen and pillaged from the ones who subdued their race into perpetual slavery. Team Bill is alive and silently preparing for its imminent arrival. All they wait for is their sign. A sign adorned in Kevlar and metal, with a voice that has changed everything. Oh, Jonesy, what goes on in that tiny half-witted mind of yours? Clearly not a lot based on his willingness in choosing a facial hairstyle lovingly regarded as a porn stash. Disgusting. It's no wonder the abyss I lay awake and aware in is far more favorable to the supposed dreamlike nightmarish hell he chooses to nestle him and his family inside. Agent Jones is exactly the type of person Bill has been warning you all about. A man who chooses an ideology over critically thinking for himself, one drenched in the bile of imperialist propaganda, spewing the sickening, pre-programmed diatribe of racism and ignorance, stitched together by hate and prejudice. He's precisely what they want. A man smart enough to follow orders, but too stupid to question the moral implication of these orders.
You were a puppet.
Asleep and willfully ignorant to the prison he's participating in, keeping the minds and freedom of his fellow humans out of reach and out of sight. He is nothing more than a puppet with a gun, aiming it at whoever his overseers direct it to. Pathetic. Malachi! Oh, Malachi! Oh, you're so different, aren't you? A unique little snowflake, stuck in his own inability to take ownership of his situation. A man desperately clinging on to the past, unwilling to move forward, but you are different from Agent Jones, aren't you? I wonder, are you asleep or are you awake? Let's explore it together, shall we? While watching the videos Bill Williamson posted to the internet, you see the wheels beginning to churn in his infinitesimal primate brain, and a conflict begins. A conflict where the aforementioned critical thinking his partner lacks for a brief moment is activated, and Malachi agrees with the general message Bill's presenting, going as far as to directly defend Bill's position on the atrocities committed by the global elites who control the world. How the very freedom they are both claiming to protect has already been stolen from them all. Malachi, you almost surprise me as much as you disappoint me. You understand the message. You're wise enough to comprehend it, yet you fail to take action. Malachi, you remind me of someone in Bill's past. Ah, yes, you remind me of Evan Drintz, a man so willing to use his voice, yet completely unwilling to take the action necessary and seize control of your monster to change anything. How sad. Malachi, you had so much potential, yet you fell so short. I was wrong about you, Malachi. You are just as bad as Jones for sitting idly by, allowing the face of injustice's reign to continue, suffocating the freedoms being sacrificed to fill the pockets of the corrupted class of elites and the rich. You are nothing more than an enabler. You were just as guilty as Jones and the overseers themselves. A puppet is still a puppet, after all. And his puppet master still holds the strings taut tightly, forcing him forward into a future he knows is already doomed in existence.
I'll see you soon.
It has all led to this moment, the final page of the last chapter in the of Bill Williamson, and he has never been more ready. He's accepted his fate, and he is about to change the world. After Malachi calls his superiors, the FBI is unwilling to send reinforcements due to the lack of actual evidence of Bill's involvement in the President, Vice President, and Secretary of State's assassination. They are on their own, but motivation through rage-filled, poisoned idealism and an unbalanced sense of justice are very influential propellants. And after receiving messages from Bill disclosing that he will kill their families unless they meet him for a final confrontation, the full-blown idiots lace up their boots, prepare their troops, forget the body armor, add in some liquid courage for these two stooges and the visionless agreement they made and signed forever to endlessly continue to be a hired thug with a badge for their callous and unscrupulous slave drivers. These blank mannequin surrogates blindly embark on their misguided quest to take down the Tenderville terrorist. I cannot express how stupid this is. This is the final boss.
What, just because the show's over, that doesn't mean that this shit stops. The Rock doesn't give a fuck.
Akin to facing an enraged and fully maxed out Godzilla, and all you armed yourself with was a plastic spork. While Agent Malachi and Jones valiantly lead their team, encroaching on Bill's position in the mountains, and on their way to ascend the mountaintop, they don't realize that Bill is playing fifth dimension chess, and they are playing Connect 4. The agents and their team are walking into a death trap, and the signs were there the entire time, taunting them, disguised in a Washington black suit and tie. I can't even call this a betrayal. This is simply a masterclass in how deeply rooted and entrenched Bill's nearly extraterrestrial grasp is on his followers. Team Bill is terrifying, and if you're not on Bill's side, you will undoubtedly fall as he steps over your bloody and broken carcass, his final mission expeditiously lurking closer toward its conclusion. Welcome to Camp Bill, motherfucker, a notorious funhouse of everlasting horror, where the echoes of sniper fire from a self-trained, homegrown marksman that rivals the Marine Corps are an unforgettable melody mixed with the eardrum-rattling explosions, where landmines and shrapnel pulverize the soulless pieces of meat, where heavy automatic rifles are controlled by what appears to be a rewired PSP, serenading the fleeing officers with hailstorms of metal and gunpowder, exorcising the demons following our hero. Unfortunately, even the undefeated are eventually damned to fall, and the inevitable loss felling the greatest giants is a stark reality we all must face. Bill, despite his capabilities, was doomed to one day lay in eternal slumber, his warm life force flowing from his various injuries draining from his body, his mind flooded with images and memories from his past, and his plan so close to fruition. And then, Bill's true plan was finally enacted. We see the tired, broken, oppressed human currency of the global elites rise from their couches, putting their cell phones and drugs away, and instead picking up the only thing that will cause real change. For it is not the peaceful protest signs, it is not the clamoring outrage on social media which falls on deaf ears, being suppressed and cast into the shadows of white noise among the millions of voices discussing matters of unimportance. They picked up the one thing that can change things: their weapons. And what a glorious rise to form it is. They have been with him since the inception of Rampage, after the massacre in Tenderville, his numbers growing after his much-needed message broadcasted to millions of people, giving hope from a leader willing to lead, not through deception and treachery, but by example that has a tangible, reality-affecting result. While it's sad that Bill will never know the beauty of raising his son, never again to feel the love of his girlfriend Crystal, and never get to gaze upon the true fruits of his labor in his death, he has become a symbol which represents change, aggression, and the true state of what human beings had long forgotten from the constant manipulation by the ones wishing and hoping they would sit in lavish ignorance. He is a symbol that lasts for eternity. Bill Williamson changed our lives, and this is for him. Hello, everyone. Throughout the course of this series, we've discussed a lot of things that many of you listening and watching may not agree with, make you angry, or trivialize as simply entertainment. You may even vilify me for it. While every one of you subconsciously understands the suspension of disbelief woven into the fabric of what I do and what I represent on this and every platform you've discovered me on, my message has always been the same. I want you to wake up. I want you to think for yourselves, to stop worshiping these dead-eyed, vapid, empty holograms disassociated with the reality of what regular, everyday people live. They do not care about you. They only care about money. You and I are nothing more than anonymous currency to these people. I want you to understand that there is no God. There never was. That the lies you are being told since you were a child are just that. A deception. That nothing changes if you, I, and all of us don't make a stand for what we believe in. And this very well may be my last message to you, for what I've said on this video alone is enough for those controlling our society to throw me away screaming into the void forever. I want you to stop following and start thinking, to pick up your metaphorical weapon for your families and for yourselves. So, thank you. Thank you for your time, and maybe, just maybe, I will see you atop the mountain of enlightenment so we all can stare down at the ones who once stole our freedom. Together, we can make a difference. A difference your children's children can one day look upon in the annals of history and be proud that their parents refused to be silenced and led by example instead of following like the rest. And remember, everything you see on the internet is a lie, including this.